Using the two inner cover pieces previously made, one with a pocket, one without, you will need to place these right sides facing right sides of fabric onto one piece of your outer cover. The outer cover should already have the interfacing attached. You will need to match up your corners so that your pieces all sit nicely, and you should have a gap in the centre. Once you have the two inner cover pieces attached to the outer cover pieces with the corners neatly all matched up, you will need to use the remainder of your piping to attach around the outside of your covers. I normally leave a small excess of piping, roughly 5 centimetres, which you can use for ease at a later point. This will need to be placed on the centre at the bottom of your folder cover. Pin this all the way round to the bottom left hand corner of your piece where we are going to make a small incision. I have one here which has been pinned and the incisions made on 3 of the corners. I'll show you how to do the incision now on the last corner. Leaving the edge slightly loose, so you don't want it pinned all the way to the corner, you need to measure it close to the corner, being careful not to stretch it. Place one more pin just to hold it in place, and then roughly 1.5 centimetres from the corner you'll need to make an incision up to the line of stitching, but do not cut the line of stitching. This will then enable you to move the piping around the corner with ease without creating any lumps. You will need to place a pin at both sides of the corner to hold the piping in place. Your corner should now look like this. Continue to pin your piping all the way around the bottom edge. The only piece you will not want to pin is the last little bit where this will slip over the other piece. The reason for this is that again you want to allow for a little bit of ease in case the piping moves around the edges, which hopefully it won't too much. And also once you get to the end, these need to be loose to allow you to sew over and to move these into place as you sew. Okay, I'm now going to sew the piping to the outer cover using the sewing machine. Hi, I'm Stephanie Vickers, design consultant here today at www.coatescrafts.co.uk. I'm now going to show you how to sew your bias binding onto the inside of your outer cover. I have already sewn the binding on over 3 of the corners, and I will now show you how to sew around the corner here. Again, we are following the existing sewing line from when we made the bias binding. Once you've reached the corner, you will need to put the sewing needle down into your fabric manually to make sure that your needle is always down in your fabric whenever you are turning a corner, otherwise you will lose the place where you're sewing. Lift up your machine foot, turn your piece around and place your machine foot back down. The needle being in the fabric holds your place. Keep sewing along until you are almost where you started. We will be overlapping the 2 end pieces here. Once you have reached the beginning again of your piping, you will need to place the piping so they overlap each other. To do this, you want to have the first piece of piping hanging off the edge of your fabric. The second piece will need to overlap this and sit like this. As much as possible, you still want to be following the original lines of sewing from your piping. However, this will not be possible all the way. Once you come to sewing over the 2 pieces of piping which will be together, you need to go very slowly so as to not jar your machine. Once you've reached the beginning of where you started to sew, you can now reverse and your piping is sewn on securely. Once you have reversed and your piece is finished, you can take it out of your machine, cut off the edge pieces of your piping using your scissors. You won't need these anymore. This is what your finished piece should look like. Next, I will show you how to place the two outer cover pieces together to create your finished folder cover.